Archie Gottesman is the co-founder of JewBelong, a nonpartisan nonprofit group that seeks to stop the spread of anti-Semitism. So, Archie, just this past week, the ADL issued a report which basically said that New York leads the nation in anti-Semitic incidents, although there was a slight decline from the year before. There was an increase in assaults, making the attacks on Jews more personal than ever before. So tell me, why is this going on?
This is going on because there was an organized, very long, terrible infiltration of foreign beliefs against Jews, against Israel, that has been simmering for years. And
when you say infiltration, who are they infiltrating?
They started by infiltrating the colleges, and then they decided to infiltrate the far progressive America. They really believe that and it's foreign money. It's whether it's Qatar or Iran, there are people who really are happier when Americans are fighting with each other. And that just, they've been, and anyway, and we took the bait, and Americans are more fearful.
But see, here's the thing. It seems that the anti-Semitic incidents are much more pervasive than they've ever been before, and they're much more personal in that it's not just swastikas or anti-Semitic phrases like, you know, that are posted on storefronts. It's personal attacks. So why has it changed from the theoretical, we're just going to put a, not just, but we're going to put a swastika, to personal attacks about people who appear to be Jewish?
Because there has not been enough strong fighting back and saying this is outrageous. This would not be, it would not be okay if it were any other group. But for some reason, when the attacks are against Jews or sometimes allies, there just seems to be an acceptance of it that it would not be the case with other marginalized communities.
So why are people accepting it now? I mean, if you take a look at the NYPD, there was a 60% of all the hate crimes in the last year were against Jews. That means that 40% were every other group, be it transgender or gays or blacks or Hispanics or any of the other Asians. I mean, every other hate group combined had 40%, the Jews had 60%.
Why is it being accepted now?
Why is that?
Because, frankly, it's become popular. I mean, we have a mayor who was talking about globalizing the Intifada. That's an uprising to murder Jewish people. And he was elected mayor. That's just a specific thing in New York City, but it's happening all over the country. There is very little price to pay when people are violent or say violent things about the Jewish community. So if there's no price to pay, plus it can gain popularity in some circles, then it keeps going. And that is why it needs to be stopped, and we need more allies.
Why is there not enough public condemnation?
Because there seems to be a price to pay when people condemn it. JewBelong works with different allies. We mostly work with Christian groups, churches, and ministries, and who literally, when you stand with Jews, you may very well get criticized, and you have to be bigger than the haters to do that.
So have you had success in getting people to your side?
We have success every day. We have billboards that have been in 46 states. And I'll tell you a good story. And this happens all the time. Hundreds and thousands of people see our billboards. And just the other day, someone reached out. This was in Atlanta. And he said, my daughter was sitting in the backseat of the car. She saw one of your billboards. You don't have to be a Jew to protect Jews. She texted her cousin, who happens to be Jewish. This guy wasn't, his daughter wasn't. And she texted her cousin and she said, are you okay? And the cousin answered, texted back, yeah, I'm on my way to dance class. Why? And she said, because I saw this billboard about Jewish people. And this person, this guy who shared the story said, that started an important conversation with my daughter and with me, and thank you for sharing. Most people in America don't hate Jews, okay? Like, Jews are 2% of the entire country. There's hardly any. I mean, I'm Jewish. There's hardly any of us. But for some reason, we have such an outsized hate against us.
Right.
And that's been the case. We've seen this movie. We know what happens because we know what happened in the 1930s in Europe. And we need to, we cannot hope it goes away by just not talking about it.
So you come from a marketing background. You're using your marketing background to try to overcome Jew hate. So is it just the billboards, or what else are you doing?
It's mostly the billboards because the billboards are very, very important awareness. That's how we got to this. It's people don't want to know, many people don't want to know the entire history of the Middle East or, they want to know, though, when we put up a billboard, we have done studies before and after, and people who are, we don't have any Jewish people in the studies, or we don't have people who care that much at all about the issue. And they say that combating anti-Semitism is an urgent issue, increases by 28% after they see the billboards. And then when further research, they say, I didn't know it was so bad. And it is so bad. And we need to be getting people, just like every other social justice issue. Just like when there was Chinese hate, there were amazing, not that there's not anymore, but it was a big deal. There were campaigns. There were campaigns for Black Lives Matter. The Jews need to be loud and proud and work with allies. I actually have, because you know what, Marcia, I'm just going to give you one or many of these bracelets. It says, I need to be able to tell my children I did not stay silent, because someday our children, our grandchildren are going to look at us and they're going to say, what were you doing in 2026 when people were being attacked because they were Jewish or they were standing with Jewish people? And I want to have a good answer. I think anyone with a real heart will have a real answer, and that means standing up.
Okay, Archie, thank you so much. We're going to have to leave it right there for now, but our conversations continue right after the show on our streaming channel, CBS News New York. We are back with Archie Gottesman. I wonder if you could tell me more about JewBelong and how it came about. I mean, it's something that you've been involved in for some time, but how did you come about it?
I co-founded JewBelong really because my husband converted to Judaism, and I was interested in what Judaism looked like to a rookie. Do you know that 72% of Jewish people marry people who are not Jewish? And that's a lot of new people, that's a lot of adults who become Jewish who say, what is this about? And it can be a little bit confusing.
So what did you say to him when he said, what is all this Jew thing about?
I said that Judaism they are the cornerstones in which my values have been created. Judaism is very much about community, it's about family, it's about education, and those are great values, and that is how I've lived my life. And in this very crazy world, sometimes it's really good to have just, what are our values? What do we stand for?
So have you yourself ever been a victim of anti-Semitism?
Oh, yeah. I run an organization called JewBelong. You can darn right know I've been a victim of anti-Semitism. And it's really...
How does it make you feel?
Oh, my gosh. It makes me feel so... it makes me feel like this person doesn't know me at all. Like, they hate me, and they're saying things like, Hitler should have, finished the job, I mean, and I was like, you don't know me. Like, you have no idea who I am. It is it's also really scary. I mean, it's like you feel horrible, but then you have to be worried about security. Going into a Jewish, whether it's a synagogue or going to like a Jewish speaker, you have to go through so much security.
Has it changed your behavior?
It's made me more determined to not be quiet. It really has. It's like, I really do believe the bracelet that says I need to be able to tell my children I did not stay silent. I cannot stay quiet or even a little while it's happening, not to my people.
So what's the solution? You know, we read all these studies that show that people don't believe that the Holocaust actually existed, or that the number of 6 million Jews killed is an exaggeration. How do you counter that?
Well, you have to really know what to counter. You can't go after every lunatic who wants to make up just nonsense because they're idiots and they're full of hate. Like, that is what's happening. So what JewBelong does is we really are looking toward toward the group, we call them the mushy middle, who are just, they don't really know much, but they don't have hate in their hearts for Jewish people. And they don't have, honestly, hate in their hearts for anybody. I mean, who wakes up in the morning and says, oh, I decided I'm going to hate Black people just because like, that's a crazy thing to do. You can't hate people just because of, like, who they are, like,
and yet people
what color their skin is. I know. So what do? We keep talking about it. People want to be on the side of a winner. I want to be on the side if you say, you know what, I'm going to speak about this. I'm not going to be quiet. I'm like, I want to hang out with her. That's what I want to do.
So what is there was a lot of people in New York, for example, that think that having Holocaust education classes in the schools is a good thing. Do you think that's a starting point? Some people resent it. So what's your thought on that?
You know, Holocaust education in the schools is a good thing. There should be, but the studies have said it is not. It's not an all-around winner. There has to be more. There just has to be tolerance for everybody, and to be able. There's been a terrible resurgence of a lot of anti-Semitism in the K through 12. People often talk about what's happening on the universities.
So how do you deal with the anti-Semitism in K through 12 if it's not through education? And it should be education on being Jewish as opposed to the Holocaust? But if you're educating people about being Jewish, don't you have to educate people about being Asian, being Black, being gay? Isn't that also important? Because we have to teach tolerance.
You do have to teach tolerance. And when they're in K through 12, there is history, and history covers lots of different parts of our country, and it covers immigration, and it covers so many different areas. It's not saying, I don't think anyone is saying, oh, just do Holocaust education and that's it. But it also, honestly, we have to deal with the teachers and we have to deal with the administrators. There's a large problem with what is tolerated in the schools, and it is, there's a terrible problem happening in the schools, and it's not going to help the kids unless the teachers and the administrators shape up.
Yeah, but you have to get rid of the bias in the teaching corps as well.
You have to get rid of the bias in the teaching corps. And frankly, the Jewish community, as much as I hate to say it, we really were asleep for a while. We thought that in America we were safe and that America was very good for the Jews for a very long time.
But now it's not.
And now it's not. And we went to sleep. We stopped being vigilant about our safety, and we need to wake up.
Do you think that another Holocaust could happen because of the increasing rise in anti-Semitism that we've seen?
I think the next Holocaust could happen, it will look a little bit different. It's going to look like it's what's happening in London right now, and it's going to look like it's happening in France right now, where Jewish people are leaving the country, and the ones that are staying are nervous, and the attacks are very, very common.
Is that going to happen here?
Not if we fight, and not if we band together, and not if we have allies who stand up with us.
Do you think that October 7th exacerbated the anti-Semitic feelings in this country?
It absolutely did. It is a disgusting truth, but it absolutely did. It was almost like a trigger point for people who had anti-Semitism like tendencies to sort of wake up and just, or be very bold about them.
But there's, you know, the Jewish community is not monolithic. And there are people who point to the actions that Israel has taken as exacerbating tensions by taking more land on the West Bank. And then there are others who support what the government's doing. Does that debate and the fact that the Jewish community appears split add to the problem?
Yeah, it's a diversion. And when people have real discussions and they really understand what's happening in Israel and Gaza and the West Bank and Lebanon, I mean, there's a lot happening there right now. When people are really educated, they understand that not everyone agrees with the government of Israel. I personally have issues with the government of Israel, but I don't vote in Israel. My children are not in the army. I am an American. And therefore, to blame me or any other Jewish person about what Benjamin Netanyahu is doing, I mean, that's absurd. It never happens to other groups. No one blames, I know people who are Russian, and no one is blaming, like, oh, what Vladimir Putin did, that's your fault. It never happens to others.
So why does it happen to Jews and not to Russians or Asians or others?
Because there is a latent, horrible anti-Semitism that is now, it disguises itself as anti-Zionism, and it's just a lie. People who are obsessed with Israel and Palestine, and it is really, when you dig down, it's usually anti-Semitism.
So last question, how do you deal with that anti-Semitism? How do you try to rout it out when, you know, you don't see that kind of hatred directed at other groups?
I wish there was an easy answer, but there's a few ways. You keep talking about it. You find allies, and not just like one or two. You need to find like hundreds of thousands. That is why, I mean, that is frankly why JewBelong is working. We have something called the Christian Collective. We are working with churches and they've been standing next to the Jewish community and to Israel for years, way before October 7th, and they haven't wavered. And sometimes the Jewish community, I think maybe we feel like we almost don't see friendship when it's given to us. And our job is to say, okay, I see an ally, I am ready to accept that help and to do the other work that we were talking about, the education, and to not be afraid to speak out about it, and to know that, yes, it may come with some fear or may come with negatives, but you know what? My ancestors, they had to deal with like being thrown out of their homes. Our ancestors had to deal with the Holocaust. If this is what is given to us right now, you know what? This is our job. It's not easy and it's not pleasant, but you know what? They had to deal with a lot worse than this, and we're up to the task.
Archie, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for working with JewBelong, and keep speaking out. And thank you for joining me, and thank you at home for joining us as well.